All right, good morning. How are you all doing? Karibuni sana. Hope you're all well. This beautiful 18th day of February 2025. But we're really glad that you could join us from whichever part of the world it is that you're joining us from. We're really happy and we're glad that you did make the time to be here with us. For the sake of guys who are new here, John Bogo is my name. I'm a trader with Afriforex. Afriforex is a trading unit, so we do have the rest of the team here. So in case you do have any questions, any comments, feel free to send on the chat box. The team will be getting back to you, but I will also be looking at the questions and the comments towards the very tail end of this session. But like we always say, you don't really need to wait until the very end. You still can ask, even as we do end up continuing with this session. So we'll jump straight into it, and we'll definitely start off by looking at our watch list. That's where we always begin every morning. So you can see the watch list right there. This 18th day of February. This is what we're going to be watching out for. A couple of changes in currency pairs. So we'll see how things end up going. Of course, in comparison to yesterday, a couple of currency pairs have fallen off our watch list. So we'll be looking at those real quick to see what happened. Although the charts yesterday were quite slow, hopefully today we will get some good moves on the charts. So we'll start off with the Australian dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, we were trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can't see what the game plan was. Also, the three areas that I had pointed out where we could have potentially tried to see where we could have gotten some opportunities, and also an illustration of what possibly we're expecting to see. So in the morning, you can see that price was somewhere here. We're expecting the pullback to come back in, maybe within this region, or maybe a breach of this region to the upside. But the market was pretty much dead within this area. You can see that the pullback started to happen much later on, of course, moving into the Asian session. There were some AUD interest rate decisions that came out, and you can see that the market just technically almost just bounced off this region to the upside. But unfortunately, today, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can end up trading. So the next one, the euro against the Swiss franc. For this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities as well. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come back in within this region. The pullback did come in. You can see that from around 11, there was an attempt of the market to push to the upside, but it's like the buyers just couldn't get past somewhere around this region, right? And you can see that after that, moving into the US, there wasn't much that was going on. Remember that I had pointed out, and I did show you that yesterday was a holiday in Canada and the US, and there was a lot of inactivity during the US session. And of course, moving into today, unfortunately, not really a currency pair that we will be trying to see whether we can end up trading. So the next one is the Australian dollar against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're also trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can see the three areas that I had pointed out. Also, the game plan of what we were expecting. It did seem like the market had broken this region to the upside. We just wanted to see a bit more, maybe the market moving a bit up higher, coming back in, watching out for the times, maybe, trying to get a buy within there. But you can't see that there was a lot of inactivity. The pullback happened, price came back in within here. And this setup also seems just like the other AUD that we looked at seems to be, technically working out or did work out during the Asian session. But unfortunately, moving into today, not a currency pair that we will be trying to trade. The next one is the euro against the US dollar. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buys. You can see the three or more or less four areas that I had pointed out, also illustrations of what to expect. So we're expecting price to come back in within here. But I pointed out that on the way up, coming up off this region right here, maybe you could find some sort of resistance within here. And you can see that this level did actually end up coming into play. And you can see that the market really attempted to break above this region to the upside a number of times, but unfortunately they just couldn't. So also for this one, not really the best of opportunities. But of course, if we did end up attempting, that's the reason why we always point out that you always need to make sure that your management game is always on point. So the next one, some card pairs. We'll start off with the Great British Pound against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. You can't see the three areas, more or less four areas that I had pointed out. You can't see an illustration of what I had pointed out you could have expected. So price was somewhere here. pointed out that at least if we get the market breaking above this region to the upside and we get the pullback coming back in here, it could have potentially tried to see whether you could have gotten some buying opportunities. And you can see that the market broke to the upside, came back in. Definitely did need to read that story on a smaller time frame. Then after that, you can see that at least the market gave a buy coming up during the London session. During the US session, price was more or less hovering within this region, but eventually seemed like the buyers did end up pushing up higher. So at least even if you got the buys there managed there, hang on, try see how much more further you can end up going. At least you could have been lucky on that one. So the next one is New Zealand dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we were also trying to see whether we could have gotten buys. These are the three areas I had pointed out, also an illustration of what to expect. So price was somewhere here. Yesterday morning, I pointed out that I wanted to see a bit more of the story within here in terms of the market holding above this region. It did actually end up holding, but there was no move. Definitely is very evident that the big boys were just not interested. You can see that all through the London session, there was no activity, and also all through the US session, there was also no activity within this region right here. And of course, moving into today during the Asian session, you can see that the pullback is definitely coming in quite aggressive. So unfortunately, also not a currency pair that we will be watching out for. So last but not least, we do have the Canadian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some sells. Can't see the game plan or what the game plan was yesterday. Price was somewhere here. We're expecting at least to try see if we could have gotten the price coming back in within somewhere within this region or somewhere as close as possible within this area. But unfortunately, we just couldn't get that. So you can see that the just hovered around here, seemed to have broken to the downside, then technically just held within there, attempted to push to the downside, although this was earlier today. You can see that the pullback is coming in. So unfortunately for us on this one, also not really an opportunity that did work out per se, but also not a currency pair that we'll be trying to see whether we can get any other opportunities today. So looking at a couple of screenshots, we did get all from Dan Pickett. There are actually three. Seems like you are man of the match yesterday. It seems like you're the only one who was really killing it on the chart. So this is the euro against the Japanese yen. So I can see that you got some selling opportunities on this one. One within this region here and another sell somewhere here. I can see that your stop losses are somewhere within this region there. And of course, definitely in the money as the market continues moving down lower, but at least well managed in terms of the trades. So shout out to you for that. Dan Pickett, keep up the good work. You also did get the NAS 100. So I can see that you got a buying opportunity on this one. Somewhere within this region. When the price came down, price started to move up. Can't see that your stop loss came in within your point of entry, which was also very good. So quite an aggressive entry, especially based on how those sellers had really come down. But of course, I know that you're a real cowboy on the charts. And of course, when the market started to move in your favor, well managed on that one. So shout out to you for that, Dan Pickett. And last but not least, you did get the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So I can see that you got a sell somewhere within this region right here. Of course, as the market is coming down, and your loss came in just above your point of entry, but also technically could be somewhere within this region right here, 151, 725, or somewhere within that area there. But I can't see that you're within some sort of a buyer's region. Hope you did do some good money management on it, but not too worried about it. I know that you're a real sniper on the charts. So shout out to you for that, Dan Pickett. So remember, guys, if you do get any trades, feel free to send them in to us. Our contact details are right there in the video description. We'd be more than happy to see what you guys are up to, give you the much needed shout out. And also in case you see something that you can't change, then we'll definitely also give you that advice. So also feel free to reach out to us with the same contact details, and we'll definitely see how best we can end up helping you. So shifting gears into matters today. So you can see right there, Tuesday the 18th. This is what the game plan is going to be looking like. So we're going to be mixing and matching up the sells versus the buys. In terms of the currency pairs, then we'll definitely look at the indices and the commodities. There isn't much change on that front. So we're going to start off with the Swiss franc pairs. And even before we jump in currency pairs, let's just have a quick look at the economic calendar. So today, at least, there will be a bit more happening compared to yesterday. We did have some holidays for the US and Canada, and I guess that's the reason why things were not really moving during the US session yesterday. So hopefully today we will get some good moves happening on the charts. And of course, moving into today, there's already been some interest rate decisions that have happened for the AUDs. So you will see a lot of weeks. I'm sure even when we're doing the post-analysis of what happened on some of the AUDs, you've already seen some moves that have already happened. So that's due to this weakness we're expecting to see on the AUDs, although some spikes, also some aggressive pullbacks that are happening, but we'll see how we'll end up going about them. Then looking forward, you can see that we do have some GBP news events coming out at 10. This one sometimes does end up really moving the markets. I don't even know why it's not 3 stars. Sometimes you find the markets really shaking, especially on the GBPs. So we have that, some Euro news events. You can see that at least during the US session, we also do have a number of news events that are going to be coming out within that time. So hopefully, today, the markets are potentially going to be moving compared to yesterday. So we'll start off with the CHF pairs. We'll start off with the Great British Pound against the Swiss franc. So for this one yesterday, also a currency pair that we did have, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see what the game plan was. So price was somewhere here. We're expecting either the pullback to come back in within here, or maybe a breach to the upside and a nice pullback to come back in within this region here. And you can see that the market broke to the upside. This was during the London session, then pulled back within this region here. And you can see that at around 5:30 or thereabouts, that's when the market did actually end up picking up to the upside quite well. So for this one, moving into today, we're still going to be trying to see whether we can get some buying opportunities. The market has not really gone far and beyond the regions that we were watching out for yesterday. So we're still going to be watching out for them. Right now, we're more or less at the conservative region. So we'll be waiting either to see if we can get the market breaking above this region to the upside and we get a nice pullback, maybe a replica of what happened within this region here. Then we'll try and see whether we can get some conservative buying opportunities. You know, if at least the market does set itself up properly within this region. If that doesn't end up happening, then we'll have to wait and see if we can get some sort of a pullback coming in, maybe through the London session. By the time the US session comes in, if market sets itself up properly and it's back in somewhere within this region, then at least we can try and see whether we can get some semi-aggressive conservative entries. So watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the bottom. In case the market finds its way there, then at least we should also be ready for that as well. So moving on into the next one. This is the New Zealand dollar against the Swiss franc. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Can't see what the game plan was. So price was here. We're expecting the pullback to come in within this region here. Then after that, maybe a buys, but you can't see that the market came down, attempted to go higher than this. Unfortunately, it couldn't, and you can see that there were quite a number of attempts by the buyers to push, you know, above this region, but unfortunately, they just couldn't. And you can see that the pullback is now happening. Maybe the buyers need to invite more sellers to come in, and that's the reason why we're getting this pullback coming in. So it's either we could find the market coming back in, you know, somewhere within this region here, and the levels are more or less the same as what we did yesterday. So this could be one option. The other option that we'll be waiting for is to see if we can get the market breaking above. And of course, if it does do that, then at least we'll know that the whole of this region will end up being a probe. So lots of, you know, sellers definitely incited, especially the market coming back in within that region. If it goes back up, then those are the guys who are going to be eating their money today. So let's wait and see what happens on this one. But also watch out for the red SNR at the bottom. In case the market finds its way there, then at least we do know that that's going to be the last area where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunities. So the next one is the Swiss franc against the Japanese yen. So for this one yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out. Also a game plan of what potentially to end up expecting. So price was here in the morning. We're expecting price to come back in somewhere as close as possible within here. Unfortunately, it couldn't come all the way to within there, but there was an SNR somewhere within this area. And you can see that the market came up to around 11. During the London market open, the market turned to the downside, came down. I mean, if you got the sales within here, definitely did need to manage. Can't see that the market also did some sort of a small probe within this area here. We do actually end up zooming in, you will see that. So it went up, came down, tested back within this region here. Sellers pushed down quite aggressive. And you can see that the market even attempted to go a bit lower, but couldn't go that far. So for this one, for today, these are the three areas we will be watching out for. So
John, kindly check your audio. It's not working.
all right, I hope you can hear me now. Is it better now? All right. Apologies for that. Things seems like there's a bit of an issue with my sound. I didn't realize, but all right. So back to what I was saying. Now, the Swiss franc against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, we're gonna be trying to get some buying opportunity. So these are the three areas that we're gonna be watching out for. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. Progressive conservative somewhere within that region there, and we have the conservative right at the top somewhere within this region here. So hopefully you can end up taking note of that. It seems like the buyers are now starting to come in slowly. Let's see if we can potentially end up getting the market coming back in. And of course, if we do see a sign of the big boys within this area, then at least we'll try to see whether we can get buying opportunities. In case holds beneath this region to the downside, then unfortunately, at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So definitely you can't that the sellers came in quite aggressive. Some sort of a turnaround is happening within this region, but it's also definitely a buyer's region. So we will be expecting to possibly see if we can get a push to the upside. So I hope you've taken note of that. The sound issue, but of course, in case anything wasn't clear, then look at them at the very tail end of this session. So the next, these are the USD pairs, and we're going to start off with the Great British Pound against the US dollar. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three regions right there that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere here. We're expecting a pullback. The market was more or less holding within here. Pointed out that unless maybe we got a breach of this region to the upside, you could have potentially looked for some buying opportunities higher up within this. Consider the pullback came back in. This was during the Asian session, but it seems to be coming back region here. But I'm thinking that the levels are more or less going to be the same ones that we had yesterday. So let's happens within these three areas right here in terms of looking for the buys high up where the market is right now. Unless you're a real cowboy and a real sniper on the charts, over here getting the buys coming up to reward, then that means that your stops also need to be very and extremely tight. You can't say that it's only about 20-21 pips going up. So unless you're going to be looking at those buying opportunities coming up, just make sure that at least you either wait for the market to calm down, because there's still a possibility, especially if the buyers are not interested, you could get the market coming back in within this region. Get the buying opportunities down here. In as much as you could target a high up there, also just make sure that you watch out for this region. You could easily find the market tapping within this area here before end up reacting. So make sure that you watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the moment. The next one, this is the US dollar against, the New Zealand dollar against the US dollar. So this is also a currency pair we had yesterday. And we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities on this one. So you can see the three regions that I had pointed out, also illustrations of what to expect. So price was here, we're expecting the pullback, we come back in within this region yesterday, but the market technically held within there. Then today, during the Asian session, you can see that there's a very deep that's coming in on this one. So we'll see if the buyers hopefully reacting off this region at the bottom, because it seems like this is where they're heading. And hopefully, if the sellers do run out of steam and the buyers do start to come in, then I think we could potentially end up getting something like that. And you can see that within this area, we do have some buyers who are sitting here. So what does end up happening? It might take the whole of the London session to set itself up. In the US session, potentially we could get those buying opportunities coming in. So let's see what happens on that one. But remember that in case the market breaks and holds beneath the red SNR, then at that point in time, there will be no trade for us. So the next one is the US dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, yesterday, we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some selling opportunities. So you can see the three areas that had been pointed out, and also an illustration of what to expect. So in the morning, price was here. We're expecting back in within this region here, but I guess this for the sellers, the market said to calm down, but you can't see that even if it did break this region to the downside, it really struggled to break free of that area there. So for today, the areas are the same. So we'll be watching out to see what happens within these three regions right here. Same areas that we did have yesterday. You can see some sort of a turnaround that's now starting to happen. Come back in within this region yesterday. Unfortunately, that didn't happen, but at least today, you can see that prices come back in within here. So let's see what happens. Maybe the buyers might still push the market up, a bit higher before they do actually end up coming out of the market completely. Because if you look at the market, how it's moved coming up, this is the first pullback that you can see. So we're not too sure whether the buyers are actually going to attempt to push up, especially off this region here. The next push up, then after that, maybe try to read the story of what happened in this region. I think that would be a very good sell on this one. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Also watch out for the region at the top. In case the market finds its way back within that area, then at least we know that that is going to be the last be attempting our aggressive selling opportunities. So last but not least, for the USD pairs, we do have the US dollar against the Canadian dollar. Our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some on this one. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. So right now the market is just coming back in within this region. So almost somehow similar to the US dollar against the Japanese yen, back within a region of resistance. We'll have to wait and see if we can get the buyers slowing down, the big sellers showing up. Then at least we can end up hitting ourselves within there to calm down. Maybe target region, if not lower. So make sure that you take note of that. Also remember the region at the top, in case the market is there, also be ready for that as well. So that's pretty much it in terms of the USD pairs. So right now we're going to move on to the Euro pairs, and we're going to mix and match them up with everything on the buy side. So we'll start off with the Euro against the Great British Pound. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list. So these are the three areas we will be trying to see whether we can get some trades in, and also so hopefully you can end up taking note of them. Right now you can see that this one is region of support. So not the best of ideas to look for the selling opportunities right now. Give the buyer, but the buyers the benefit of doubt. So it's either the buyers push the market up, and you can see that they are slowly attempting to come in. And I'm really hoping that we get a pullback coming in as close as possible within this region here, because happens and the market just comes back in within this area. I don't know if this right here might actually be worth it coming down. So we'll have to end up waiting to see whether at least either the market can break beneath this region. If that does end up happening, then I think some proper selling opportunities might actually end up happening off this region right here. So make sure that you do watch out for that. But at least we hope that we do get the pullback in that region in the middle right there. So moving on into the next one. For this one, this is also a new entrant on our watch list. So we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one today. So hopefully you can end up taking note of those three areas right there. Right now we're back within some area of resistance, which is good. Can't see that the sellers are starting to react, although not the big sellers, but we'll have to wait and see if we can get at least a sign of the big sellers showing up the market opening times, and then hopefully we'll get that sell coming in. So let's see what happens. It'd be good to see that the pull is a bit coming in quite aggressive, because if you look at the shallow pullback, they're not showing like they're quite there, but right now this is a sign. We just need to see a sign of the bigger boys showing up there, then maybe, and hopefully we'll end up getting those sales coming in. But also watch out for the region, the top right there. So moving on, this is the euro against the Japanese yen. So for this one, also a new entrant on our watch list, and we will be trying to see whether we can get some selling opportunities on this one. So these are the three areas that we've mapped out. So hopefully you can end up taking note of them. Hopefully we'll get the pullback coming in somewhere as close as possible within this region here. If we do get that, then I think potentially we could get some very, very good selling opportunities off this region right here. So let's just wait and see what happens, but also make sure that you have a look at foreign. If you see something happening on one of the currency pairs, make sure that you do end up looking at the others, just to make sure that you know the euros, or is it the opposite currency pair that you're going to be relying on to actually get the job done. So last but not least, for the euros, we do have the euro against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas that we had yesterday. Also some illustration of what to expect. So we're expecting price to actually end up at least breaking the upside. Then maybe we could have looked for some buying opportunities, or at least the market we did not do. So for this one, there wasn't any clear opportunity in terms of yesterday. Let's see if in terms of sales. So for this one, we're going the other way. The levels are the same, but we're going the other way. So right now the market has already started coming back in within. So don't really end up looking for the buys. I mean the sales just yet, because the market can easily bounce off this area, and you easily could find price coming back within this region right here. And after that, you could find that your proper selling opportunities this area here. So that's one option. The other option is to wait and see. You can get the market breaking beneath this region to the downside. Of course, if you do read the story well and you get a proper hold, you know, the market within that region, then at least we can get some proper selling opportunities as well of that region coming down. So hopefully you have taken note of that. Also remembering the red SNR, in case the market breaks region to the upside, unfortunately, there will be no trade for us. And also remember to watch out for the times 11, 4 and 5:30. You could get some very good opportunities then. And also remember to stick within your risk parameters at all times and trade with a stop loss at all times. So the last set of currency pairs, which are the AUD pairs. So we'll start off with the Great British Pound against the Australian dollar. So for this one, this is a new entrant on our watch list, and we will we can get some in this one. So these are the three areas that we're really going to be watching entries, and also in terms of areas we can manage our trades. So you can see that yesterday the market shot up quite aggressively, held. You see this candle right here with wicks on both sides. That was when the interest rate decisions did actually end up getting released. Then you can see that the market has come down back within this region, some sort of a buyer's area. And it seems like the buyers are now just starting to come in. So for this one, we will be waiting can get the market potentially holding above, right? And at least that will be good. Buys within here after you get to visually see the hold within this area. Even if you do put your stops here, you definitely can actually target somewhere within this region right here. So let's wait and see what happens on this one. But also remember that in case the market breaks to the downside and holds within here to the downside, then it means that maybe this price is not good enough and we could get the price coming back, which is going to be our last area where we will be attempting our aggressive buying opportunity. So the next one is the Australian dollar against the New Zealand dollar. So for this one, new entrant on our watch list as well. But for this one, we will be going the other way. For the sake of guys who are new to trading, bear in mind that the Australian dollar on this one is to the left. So it's the basis of what we're doing. On the other one, it was to the right. So it's the counter currency pair. So by buying the Great British Pound, automatically we are selling the AUD, which is what we should be doing. So for this one, we're going to be get some sells. You can see that this one has gone up quite aggressively all through the Asian session. You can see that during the interest rate decisions, almost a similar candle with wicks on both sides. The rest of the AUDs, it's continued to rally up high, but this one is already at the aggressive area. So we will be waiting to see if we can get the sign of the big boys showing up, maybe more attempts of the buyers to actually push to the upside. We visually see that the market is holding. And, we look at the times, closer to the market, potentially could get a very good sell coming in on this one. So do watch out for this region here. You will definitely need to watch out for it because the market can easily bounce off this area right here. And if you don't manage, your trade could easily end up getting taken back. So watch out for that. Also watch out for this region. It doesn't have to target down here. It's just a matter of making sure that you're managing your trade continues to move in your favor. And of course, for those of you that are really good at trading, definitely, based on the various support and resistance market breaks, those could potentially be areas where you definitely could be scaling in as your scale that trades. So we're going to move on to the next one. So this is the Australian dollar against the Japanese yen. So for this one, it's a new entrant on our watch list. We will be attempting to see whether we can get some sales in on this one. More or less almost a similar situation with the rest of the AUDs. You can see that candle right there in the interest released. The market has continued to move up, but it's back in within some sort of a seller's. See that the sellers are attempting to start to come back in within this region, but we'll have to wait and see more of the story of what here before we do actually end up hitting some selling opportunities on this one. So watch out for this area here. In case the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, this is going to be the last area where we will be attempting or trying to see whether we can get our aggressive sells particular region right there. Of course, in case the market breaks and holds above that region to the upside, will be. So last but not least, in terms of the currency pairs, this is the Australian dollar against the Canadian dollar. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. Regions right there that I had pointed out. An illustration or illustrations of what may be to expect. Price was high up here. I pointed out that it wasn't a very good idea in terms of looking for the buys, and you clearly can't see why. The sellers really held and contained the market within here. We're expecting the pullback to come in within this for buys, but unfortunately that didn't happen yesterday. But today you can see that the market pulled back in, tapped within this region and took off to the upside, even tapped that region right there where we're expecting to potentially end up managing our trades if we got the buys down here. So for today, for this one, we're going to be going the other way. So we're not going to be looking to see whether we will be looking to see whether we can get sells. Of course, we want to get our sells as close as there's a possibility we still could get the market attempting to break to the upside. Have really showed up within that region. I'm thinking maybe we could get a spike. And of course, if we do get the market coming back into the downside of this region, I think at that point in time, we can get some proper selling opportunities. So just make sure that you watch out for that. Also remember that in the market breaks and holds above this region to the upside, then unfortunately at that point in time, we'll have to end up falling back on our selling opportunities. Be extremely aggressive, and of course the probability of being stopped out, especially break above that region to the upside do end up becoming extremely high. So that's pretty much it in terms of all the currency pairs. So hopefully you have them. So right now we're going to move on to the indices and the commodities. So we'll start off with the NAS 100. So for this one, yesterday we're trying to see whether we could have gotten some buying opportunities. So you can see the three areas I had pointed out, and also an illustration of what to expect. We're expecting the market to pull back in within this region. Such a good idea to was high up there. Fortunately, the pullback couldn't come back in all the way till within this region. It looks like the sellers had really come down quite aggressively, but the buyers within this region, and of course, Dan Bickett as well, did end up stopping the sellers within there. And you can see that the market did actually end up pushing itself off this region to the up. Attempted, another attempt to come down within this region before the market did actually end up moving to the upside. So for this one, for today, the levels are the same. So this top level to the upside. In terms of looking for buying opportunities, don't be incited due to the fact that you're seeing this candle breaking to the upside. There are definitely many breaking buys right now. But like we always point out, it's always best to wait for the confirmation. And the market will always give you pullbacks. You just need to be patient. I know sometimes, especially when you see the market's moving and you see the candles really moving, like this one is, your mind you that if you miss out on this trade, then that's it. This is not the last trade in the world. You just need to be patient. Get a proper pullback coming in. Who knows? Maybe the market might even probe within this area, come back in within this region, hold to the downside, and you could easily find the market even coming back in within this area right here before you get a proper buying opportunity. So let's just wait and see what happens. Of course, it's good to see that the breach is happening, but like we always point out, the pullback is also very, very good. So moving on into the next one, this is the US 30 or the Dow Jones. So the bars could get some selling opportunities. There was a lot of inactivity on this one yesterday. So you can see the three areas and what the game plan was. So price was somewhere here. We're either expecting a breach to the downside of this region. Unfortunately, we couldn't get that. And of course, also maybe getting price coming back in somewhere as close as possible within this area. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. The market just hovered around within this particular region right here. So for this one, the game plan is the same. Price is more or less within where it was yesterday. So we will be waiting to see if the market coming back somewhere within this region here, because you can see that the sellers have really attempted to push the market down off this area. So I guess those prices are just not sufficient enough. Better prices. You can see signs that the buyers are also starting to come in. But in terms of looking for the buyers, because I know that some of you may think that, if we're going to be looking for the sales high up here, why not look for the buyers and the buyers are looking strong? Well, it being a counter, you could easily find that the buyers could easily end up, but also really struggle within this area right here before the big sellers show up. And that's the biggest problem with counters. So you're better off just waiting. You easily could still find the price, coming back region here. Hopefully just watching. If that doesn't end up happening, there's a possibility we can't even get price coming back, maybe somewhere as close as possible within this region, because you can see that there was also an aggressive reaction by the sellers within that area. So in case we can't get price coming there, then I guess also do watch out for this region right here. I think maybe the next might actually be somewhere within this region if the price doesn't react within there. So watch out for that. And of course, remember, for as long as we're holding beneath that red, the bar is to try to see whether we can get some selling opportunities. So moving on into the next is silver. So for this one yesterday, it was a bit of a catch-22 situation. We're trying to see whether we opportunities, but the market was just hovering just above this area to the upside. In fact, it was somewhere within here, price came down. It was actually to the downside, price came down. And I have pointed out that if we get the market holding above this region to the upside, you could look for some buying opportunities. But for the proper sales, we did need to break beneath this region to the downside, because any trades within the end up being quite frustrating. And you can see that price did manage or attempt to break beneath this region earlier today during the Asian session. And you can see that the buyers have actually pushed the market back in within this area, and it currently seems to be holding above this region. So there's a possibility the buyers might actually end up pushing this one up higher today, but we'll have to wait and see. So these are the three areas that we will for today. So it's more or less the same game plan yesterday. Let's wait and see London session lifting. If it does break above here, of course, if you get the buys down here, you definitely will need to manage within this region. But at least if we do get the market breaking and holding above this region to the upside, you could look for some more buying opportunities at that point in time. So just make sure that you watch out for that. In terms of the sells, I wouldn't really advise you to still look for the sells within here. I think if the market breaks and holds beneath this region to the downside, I think those sells are much better than attempting sells within this area here, because the number of probes and spikes that have happened here, especially if you go up on the higher time frame, it's definitely a region where you don't really want to end up getting in on any trades, whether buys or sells. You will easily end up frustrated. So just make sure that you do factor that to your analysis. So last but not least, we do have gold. So for gold, yesterday the bars was to see whether we could get, and you can see the three areas that I had pointed out. So in the morning, price was somewhere here, and the market had just come to the upside. It had breached the downside, came back within here. Pointed out we did need to see the market holding within. The market came back up and continued to hold up, but it didn't really end up making a move until earlier today. And you can see that the price did actually bounce off this region right here today session before continuing to move up. So for this one, the levels are the same, the story is the same, the market is already moving. If you didn't get any trades earlier when the market was, or the price was down within this region, just make sure that you don't change. Be patient. Right now, the market has just broken above this region to the upside. I think the best thing is to wait. Could get a proper retest happening within this region, watching out for the times, maybe at around 4, 5:30, because that's when gold and silver normally do have a tendency of moving largely. So we'll wait and see what does end up happening. Although the big boys during Asia definitely seem like they were interested in pushing this one up, but the pullback is still essential. So let's wait and see what does end up happening on this one. So I guess that's pretty much it in terms everything. Take a note of everything we have discussed. Apologies for the slight technical challenges. I think could be something up with internet. And that's the reason why I think audio and also maybe a bit of a lag on sound, but I hope that you are able to follow at least everything. So looking at the chat box, I'm seeing Daniel Smith there, and Ricky is saying good morning, Afriforex, karibu sana. I see Ivy Wanyama as well. Traders, karibu sana Ivy. Hope you're also well. Not really questions, so I guess everything else is perfectly clear. So I guess that's pretty much it from me. I want to thank you guys so much for making the time to be here with us. Like we always say, we know you're busy people, but you do take the time to be here for granted. We hope you're achieving much in terms of your trading. And of course, if you're not, feel free to reach out to us. Our contact details are definitely there on the chat box. If you're struggling with your trading and it's tough, you need to keep pushing. This thing is not easy, but it's doable for as long as you don't give. Just keep doing what you need to do, and you never know, your breakthrough might be closer than you. So if you do get any trades in as well, also feel free to send them in to us. Our contact, and we'll definitely give you the much needed shout out. If you do need more education, the AMP program, there should be a link also in the video description that you can actually end up using to sign up for that. And we'll definitely see what can put you into the next class. So I guess with that, we'll see you guys tomorrow. So do have a fruitful day on the chats and in everything else that you do end up doing out there. Stay safe and hopefully. So with that, happy trading, guys. And bye for now. Keep with you. God bless.